Just yesterday, the Prime Minister of Denmark, Mette Frederiksen, stated that this is the right time to recognize a Palestinian state. Frederiksen was joined by the leader of Finland, and this comes in the wake of a week and a half ago, Canada, the United Kingdom, France, all saying that they want to work towards a Palestinian state. And just in the past 2 days, Australia has joined the chorus, as well as Colombia announcing that they're appointing an ambassador to the state of Palestine. Norway, Jordan, Malta, more and more nations are joining this immediate call to create and recognize a Palestinian state. The United Nations has announced that there will be a conference in just a few weeks in June to discuss the issue of a Palestinian state. Is Frederiksen correct? Is this the right time to recognize a Palestinian state? Now, obviously, you know the answer from my side. The whole concept of a two-state solution is an absolute disaster for Israel. It's a disaster for peace. But why are they freaking out right now? Why is this panicked call for a two-state solution for a Palestinian state happening right now? Before we answer that question, let's talk about the concept of a Palestinian state. Who would govern a Palestinian state? Now, according to Canada, the UK, France, according to all of these statements, that would be the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority is run by Mahmoud Abbas. Now, Mahmoud Abbas was elected in 2006 to a 4-year term. That was the last time they had elections. So he's actually serving year 20 right now of a 4-year term. And the reason that they haven't had elections since 2006 is that Hamas would win. Everyone knows that. All the polling has shown that Hamas is overwhelmingly popular. In fact, according to the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research, 81% of Palestinians say that it is time for Mahmoud Abbas to step down and are demanding his resignation. And a September 2024 poll, about 8 months ago, the same PCPSR, the Palestinian Center for Policy Survey Research, showed that only 6% of Palestinians would vote for Mahmoud Abbas if an election were held today. So these countries, these nations that are saying that this is the right time to declare a Palestinian state and we should work with the Palestinian Authority, which is what the joint statement of Canada, the UK, and France said, what kind of state are they calling for? Are they calling for a democracy? Should it have free and fair elections? Well, if it did, it would mean the election of Hamas. Let's ask a few more questions about this supposed Palestinian state. Will it have its own military? Will it control its own borders? Will it be at peace with Israel? Well, let's start with the last question. The Palestinian Authority pays out millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars every year to the families of terrorist murderers. We've talked about this before. It's something they've been doing since their inception. Anyone who murders an Israeli or murders a tourist in Israel receives a lifetime stipend. They or their family receives that stipend. And the education system that the Palestinian Authority runs preaches hatred of Jews and hatred of Israel. No wonder that according to this same recent poll, 59% of the Arabs in Judea and Samaria, known as the West Bank, still approve of the October 7th attacks by Hamas. So obviously, they cannot have their own military. Israel would not be able to allow them to control their own border. This is not really a state. Now, what this freak out session is really about, the reason all these countries are freaking out right now, calling for a Palestinian state, the panic is because Israel is winning. Israel has begun distributing humanitarian aid directly to the people of Gaza, which means that the people of Gaza are going to start evacuating from areas where Hamas is. Hamas has actually called on the people not to evacuate. They're also warning that there will be consequences if they do. So we'll see how that plays out. But as Israel starts distributing this humanitarian aid, and also starts helping those who want to leave the Gaza Strip leave, the entire narrative of a two-state solution of a potential Palestinian state will fall apart completely. You see, according to the polling, a Gallup poll done this past March, just a couple months ago, published by The Telegraph, reported that 52% of Gazans would leave the Strip if it was possible to do so. And a March poll by the Washington Institute for Near East Policy puts the number at 60%. The Palestinians' own polling puts the number of Gazans who want to leave the Gaza Strip at 43%. So all this stuff you're hearing about forced displacement and forced transfer of the Palestinians out of Gaza is all one big lie. What Israel is advocating for, and what President Trump was talking about, is voluntary emigration of the Gazans out. And as you see from this polling, depending on what number you believe, approximately half of all the residents of Gaza want to leave to other countries. The right to leave a war zone is a fundamental human right. It's part of the Geneva Conventions, and it's been denied to the Gazans ever since the war began. But as these people start to leave, and as Hamas continues to be destroyed because they no longer have the humanitarian aid coming into their hands, they no longer have cash, they no longer have weapons, they no longer have leadership, as I said in my last video, their entire governing structure is collapsing right now. So Hamas losing and potentially over 1 million Gazans leaving means that the whole idea of a Palestinian state and the Palestinian people's right to their own state, which is all built on lies. An upcoming video is going to deal with that question more in depth. But that whole fiction of a Palestinian state is slipping away because Israel is winning. And these nations of the world who despise Israel and want to keep the Palestinian narrative alive are in an absolute panic. That's what this is really about. Let me just add, as a final point, that according to all of the agreements negotiated between Israel and the Palestinians going all the way back to 1993 Oslo Accords, the famous handshake on the White House lawn that started the whole peace process, according to all of those agreements, ever since, declaration of a Palestinian state is a matter for negotiation between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And a decision to recognize a Palestinian state, a decision to declare a Palestinian state, right now, without the Israelis' consent, is an abrogation of all those agreements. And that actually makes it easier for Israel to do what Israel needs to do to secure its future. So all of these calls for a Palestinian state right now, and you're going to hear it ramp up in the coming days, is all a panic session based on the fact that Israel's winning, and it's all designed to put more and more pressure on Israel to back off and ultimately save Hamas. Make sure to go into the description of this video below and download the free ebook that is available there. This is a collection of columns that I've published over the course of the last year and a half since the beginning of the October 7th war. It gives you a feel for everything we've been through in this war. So go ahead and download that ebook.